The Pacific, August 1944. The air above Rabaul smells like burning metal and fear. At 15,000 feet, the temperature inside an F4U Corsair cockpit climbs past 110 degrees. Sweat soaks through flight suits. Oxygen masks fog with every breath. Below, the jungle stretches green and indifferent, swallowing wreckage without ceremony. This is the kill zone, where American fighters meet Japanese Zeros over contested islands, and the mathematics of survival favor no one. The Corsair is a monster of an aircraft. Bent wings, massive engine, a profile that looks like it was designed to intimidate rather than fly. It is fast, brutally fast, capable of 400 mph in level flight. It carries 6 50 caliber machine guns and enough ammunition to shred a Zero in a 2-second burst. On paper, it is superior to everything the Japanese fly. In practice, it is a coffin with wings. The problem is not the aircraft. The problem is doctrine. American fighter tactics in the Pacific rely on speed and altitude. Dive on. The enemy, fire, climb away. Do not turn, do not dogfight. The Zero can outturn anything in the sky, and pilots who forget that rule die in flames. The Corsair's advantages are vertical. Its weaknesses are horizontal. Doctrine is written in blood, refined over 3 years of island hopping, tested against an enemy that refuses to surrender. But doctrine assumes you make it home. By August 1944, loss rates over Rabaul exceed 40% on heavy strike missions. Flak batteries ring every Japanese airfield. Zeros patrol in coordinated groups, disciplined and lethal. Engine failures, fuel shortages, navigation errors, all of it compounds. A pilot can do everything right and still vanish into the Coral Sea, another name on a casualty list, another empty bunk in the squadron tent. The sound of war at altitude is unreal. The roar of the Pratt & Whitney R2800 engine, 2,000 horsepower hammering at full throttle. The rattle of gun bays when the trigger is pressed. The snap of cannon fire when a Zero closes to firing range. Then the silence when something critical fails. Oil pressure dropping, coolant temperature spiking, the engine seizing into a block of useless metal. That silence is worse than any scream. Rescue doctrine is clear. If your aircraft is hit and failing, bail out over water. Radio your position. Deploy your life raft. Wait. Navy destroyers and submarines patrol the sea lanes, listening for distress calls, searching for downed pilots. Some men are pulled from the water after hours, some after days. Most are never found. The ocean does not care about courage or skill. It simply takes. Ground crews work through the night, patching bullet holes, replacing shattered canopies, scrubbing blood from seats. They do not speak of what they clean. Mechanics develop rituals. Some refuse to service a plane that has lost 2 pilots. Others paint small symbols on engine cowlings, prayers in grease pencil. Everyone knows the statistics. Everyone pretends they do not. Pilots die. Replacements arrive. The war grinds forward. His name is Virgil Kern, born in 1912 on a wheat farm outside Kearney, Nebraska. Tall, lean, with hands that know the feel of machinery before they know the feel of a woman. He learns to drive a tractor at age 8. By 14, he is rebuilding carburetors and timing engines by ear. His father raises wheat. Virgil raises questions. How does a thresher separate grain? Why does a diesel compress differently than gasoline? What is the optimal blade angle for a windmill? He graduates high school in 1930. No college, no money. The Depression, crushing dreams across the Midwest. He works the farm, fixes neighbors' equipment for cash, and reads everything he can find. Machinery manuals, engineering journals, aviation magazines. He builds a crystal radio and listens to reports of barnstormers and air races. In 1935, a crop duster lands in a field near his farm. The pilot needs a fuel pump repaired. Virgil fixes it in 90 minutes using parts from a tractor. The pilot offers him a ride. Virgil takes it. He is hooked. He saves money, trades labor for flight lessons at a dusty airstrip 40 miles away. He solos in 1937. He earns a commercial license in 1939. He flies crop dusters, mail routes, anything that pays. He is not a natural. He is methodical. He calculates weight and balance before every flight. He memorizes engine temperatures and fuel burn rates. He approaches flying the way a machinist approaches a lathe, with patience and respect for physics. When war breaks out, Virgil tries to enlist in the Army Air Corps. He is rejected. Too old. The cutoff is 26. He is 29. He tries again in 1942. Rejected. Too rural, insufficient education, no combat aptitude. It could have ended there. For most, it would have. But the Marine Corps is desperate. They are bleeding pilots over Guadalcanal, and the Solomons faster than training programs can replace them. Standards drop. Age limits stretch. In early 1943, Virgil is accepted into a backdoor program for experienced civilian pilots. He is 31 years old. Training is abbreviated. The Marines need bodies in cockpits, not in classrooms. Virgil is assigned to fighter transition, learns the Corsair at Naval Air Station Jacksonville. The instructors are blunt. The Corsair is fast and lethal, but it kills more pilots in training than the enemy does in combat. It stalls without warning. It torques violently on takeoff. It demands respect. Virgil respects it. He studies the technical manual like scripture. He asks questions that irritate his instructors. Why does the oil cooler fail at certain altitudes? What is the optimal manifold pressure for sustained cruise? They tell him to shut up and fly. He is assigned to VMF 214, the Black Sheep Squadron, in June 1944. His squadron mates call him Gramps. At 32, he is a decade older than most. He does not drink. He does not chase nurses. After missions, he disappears to his tent and writes notes. Diagrams of enemy tactics. Fuel consumption. Calculations. His commanding officer thinks he is odd but competent. Virgil thinks survival is engineering. August 17, 1944. The briefing tent smells like sweat and mildew. Mission orders are simple. Escort a bombing run on Rabaul, the Japanese stronghold on New Britain. The target is an airfield and supply depot. Intelligence reports heavy flak and at least 20 Zeros based in the area. Expected duration, 3 hours. Expected losses, acceptable. The word acceptable makes Virgil's jaw tighten. He checks his aircraft personally. Fuel topped off. Guns loaded. Oil pressure normal. He climbs into the cockpit at 05:45 hours. The flight launches in darkness. 12 Corsairs form up over the sea, navigation lights blinking, then extinguished as they turn north. Virgil flies the number 4 position, tucked into the formation. The sun rises over the horizon, turning the water below from black to silver. Radio chatter is sparse. Pilots scan the sky, necks craning, eyes searching for the glint of enemy. Fighters. At 7:20, the bombers appear ahead. B-24 Liberators lumbering toward the target at 12,000 pound-feet. The Corsairs climb to escort altitude, 18,000 pound-feet, positioning themselves above and behind the bomber stream. The coast of New Britain materializes through haze, green jungle, volcanic peaks, and somewhere below, the airfield. The bombers begin their run. Anti-aircraft fire erupts, black puffs blooming across the sky. Virgil watches a B-24 take a direct hit, its wing folding, the aircraft tumbling toward the jungle, trailing fire. Then the Zeros arrive. They come from above, diving through the formation. Virgil counts 8, then 12, then loses track. The radio explodes with calls. Bandits high. Bandits at 3 o'clock. Break left. Virgil rolls into a Zero attempting a beam attack on a bomber. He fires a 2-second burst. Tracers converge. The Zero's engine smokes. It peels away, trailing vapor. Virgil does not follow. He stays with the bombers. That is the job. Then the flak finds him. A shell detonates 50 feet to his right. shrapnel slicing through the Corsair's fuselage. Alarms scream, oil pressure drops, coolant temperature spikes. Virgil throttles back, checks the gauges. The engine is dying. He radios his flight leader. Engine hit, breaking off, heading south. The response is garbled, lost in static and crosstalk. Virgil is alone. He nurses the Corsair away from the battle, descending, trading altitude for distance. The engine coughs, runs rough, coughs again. At 8,000 feet it seizes. The propeller windmills uselessly. The cockpit goes quiet except for the whistle of wind through bullet holes. Virgil scans below. Ocean to the east, jungle to the south. And there, barely visible through the canopy, a cleared strip. Dirt, maybe 1 to 200 foot long, trees at both ends. It is crude, Japanese, and his only chance. Doctrine says, bail out. Virgil ignores it. He banks toward the strip, lowers the landing gear, and commits. The Corsair hits hard. Virgil flares too late. The aircraft, slamming onto the dirt strip with bone-jarring force. The landing gear collapses. The fuselage scrapes forward, throwing sparks and mud. The left wing crumples against a tree stump. Metal screams. Glass shatters. Virgil's head snaps forward into the gun sight, splitting his forehead. The world goes white, then red, then silent. When he opens his eyes, the Corsair is a wreck. Smoke pours from the engine cowling. Fuel drips from ruptured tanks. He unbuckles with shaking hands, kicks open the canopy, and falls onto the dirt. His left shoulder is dislocated, the pain electric. He pops it back into the socket using a tree, biting down on his belt to keep from screaming. He moves fast. The Japanese will have heard the crash. He grabs his survival kit, a canteen, and his sidearm. He staggers into the jungle, 50 yards, then 100, then collapses behind a fallen log and waits. Within 10 minutes, Japanese soldiers arrive. They inspect the wreckage, searching for the pilot. Virgil stays motionless, breathing shallow, watching through the undergrowth. They assume he died in the jungle. They leave. The Corsair burns. For 2 days, Virgil hides. He drinks from a stream. He eats nothing. The jungle is hostile, insects and heat, and the constant fear of discovery. On the second morning, he hears aircraft. He crawls to the edge of the clearing and sees the airstrip properly for the first time. It is a forward operating base, crude but functional. A fuel depot with 50-gallon drums stacked in rows. A repair tent, 6 aircraft parked along the tree line. 5 are Japanese, Zeros, and a twin-engine bomber. The 6th is different. Virgil recognizes it immediately from intelligence briefings. A Focke-Wulf FW-190, a German fighter. Angular, predatory, painted in Luftwaffe gray with Japanese markings hastily applied. It is part of a technology exchange program, German aircraft tested by Japanese pilots in combat conditions. Virgil watches the base through his binoculars. He counts 30 Japanese. Personnel. Mechanics work on the Zeros. Guards patrol the perimeter in shifts, changing every 4 hours. The FW-190 sits apart, closer to the fuel depot. No one touches it. He studies the layout, memorizing distances, guard rotations, the position of the fuel drums, and he begins to calculate. He is 140 miles from Allied lines, too far to walk through hostile jungle. No rescue is coming. His squadron thinks he is dead. Radio protocols assume downed pilots either make it to the water or die on land. Search and rescue does not penetrate this deep into Japanese territory. But that FW-190 could fly him home. It is insane. He has never flown a German aircraft. The cockpit will be foreign, instruments in a different language, controls reversed. Even if he could start it, even if he could take off without being shot, he would have to approach his own base in an enemy fighter without being blown out of the sky. Every rational thought says it is suicide. But Virgil is a farmer. He solves problems with what he has. And what he has is an enemy aircraft, desperation, and a thorough understanding of internal combustion engines. Virgil spends the third day observing. He does not move from his position except to drink from the stream after dark. He watches the guard rotations with the focus of a man studying blueprints. The Japanese operate on a strict schedule. Guards change at 0600, 1000, 1400, 1800, and 2200 hours. The night shift, 2200 to 0600, is understaffed. 2 men patrol the perimeter. 1 walks the flight line. The rest sleep in tents 200 yards from the airstrip. The FW-190 sits 40 yards from the fuel depot, 60 yards from the nearest tent. During shift changes, there is a 3-minute gap when both guards are at the far end of the strip reporting to their relief. That gap is his window. He studies the FW-190 itself. Through the binoculars, he can see the cockpit layout. The throttle is on the left side, standard. The fuel selector and magneto switches are near the pilot's left knee. The instruments are different from American aircraft, but the fundamentals are universal: airspeed, altitude, engine temperature, fuel. He has read intelligence reports on German fighters. The FW-190 uses a BMW radial engine similar in principle to the Pratt & Whitney in his Corsair: air-cooled, fuel-injected, reliable. Starting procedure is likely identical. Fuel on, magnetos engaged, primer pump, starter. If the Japanese have kept it fueled, if the battery holds a charge, he can start it. The EF is the size of a canyon. The bigger problem is takeoff. The strip is short, 1,200 feet at most. The FW-190 needs 800 for it to rotate under normal conditions. But normal assumes a pilot familiar with the aircraft, not a man flying it for the first time under fire. Virgil measures the strip by counting his paces mentally, estimating from the trees. He watches a Zero take off on the afternoon of the third day. It rotates at approximately 600 feet, lifting off cleanly. The FW-190 is heavier but more powerful. He estimates he will need every inch of runway. 1 mistake, 1 hesitation, and he will cartwheel into the jungle. Then there is the flight home. He calculates range. The FW-190 carries roughly 120 gallons of internal fuel. Cruising at economical power, 240 mph, fuel burn is approximately 50 gallons per hour. That gives him 2 hours of flight time, maybe 480 miles range. His base is 140 miles southwest. He has margin, but not much. He will have to fly low to avoid radar, which increases fuel consumption, and he will have to approach his own base in an enemy aircraft. Allied doctrine is explicit. Unidentified aircraft are engaged on sight. He cannot radio ahead. He does not know Allied frequencies from memory. He will be flying blind into friendly guns, but the alternative is dying in the jungle. Malaria, starvation, capture. The Japanese do not take prisoners in this theater. Virgil has heard the stories. He has seen the intelligence photos. He is not walking out. He is not waiting for rescue that will never come. He is flying out, or he is dying in the attempt. On the night of August 19th, Virgil makes his decision. Pre-dawn, August 20th, during the guard shift change, he will move. He will kill if he has to. He will steal the FW-190, and he will fly it home. August 20th, 0530 hours. The jungle is black. Virgil moves in silence, every step deliberate. His shoulder throbs. His head wound has crusted over. He carries his sidearm, a Colt 1911, and a combat knife taken from his survival kit. His hands are steady. Fear is present, but controlled. He has spent 3 days watching. He knows the pattern. The guards change shifts at 0600. At 0557, both guards walk to the guard tent at the south end of the strip to report. The gap lasts 3 minutes. That is his window. He reaches the tree line at 0555. The airstrip is gray in the pre-dawn light. The FW-190 sits 40 yards away, a dark shape against the fuel depot. 1 guard walks the perimeter, rifle slung, cigarette glowing. Virgil waits. At 0557, the guard turns and walks toward the tent. Virgil counts to 30, then moves. He crosses the open ground fast, crouched low, covering the distance in 20 seconds. He reaches the FW-190. No alarm, no shout. Then a voice behind him, Japanese, sharp and questioning. Virgil turns. A mechanic, maybe 19 years old, stands 10 furrow away, wrench in hand, eyes wide. The boy opens his mouth to yell. Virgil closes the distance in 2 steps and drives the knife into his throat. The mechanic gurgles, drops the wrench, and collapses. Virgil drags the body under the wing. His hands are shaking now. He has killed a man. He does not stop to think about it. He climbs onto the wing and into the cockpit. The interior is cramped. German instruments, labels in a language he does not read, but the layout is logical. Throttle on the left, stick in the center, fuel selector valve marked with symbols, one position highlighted in red. He assumes that is on. Magneto, switches near his knee, 2 of them. He flips both to the on position. Primer pump, a small lever near the throttle. He pumps it 6 times. The battery master switch is obvious, a large red toggle. He flips it. Instruments light up faintly. He finds the starter button, a black knob on the panel. He presses it. The engine turns over once, twice, coughs. Nothing. He pumps the primer again, presses the starter. The engine catches. The propeller spins. The BMW radial roars to life, loud and violent in the dawn silence. Shouting erupts from the tents. Virgil does not look back. He releases the parking brake, a lever near his right hip, and advances the throttle. The FW-190 lurches forward. Bullets spark off the fuselage. Virgil keeps the throttle forward. The aircraft accelerates down the dirt strip, tail lifting at 40 mph. Tracers arc past the canopy. A round punches through the seat beside him. He ignores it. Airspeed climbs. 60 mph. 80 mph. The trees at the end of the strip rush closer. 100 mph. He pulls back on the stick. The FW-190 lifts, wheels clearing the ground by inches. He is airborne. Below, Japanese soldiers fire uselessly into the sky. Virgil banks west, drops to treetop level, and disappears into the dawn. The FW-190 flies like a truck, heavy, solid, responsive, but unforgiving. Virgil grips the stick with both hands, feeling the aircraft out, learning its rhythm. The throttle response is immediate. The ailerons are stiff. The rudder requires more pressure than the Corsair, but it flies. The engine runs smooth, oil pressure steady, coolant temperature normal. He is 500 feet above the jungle, racing southwest at 240 mph. Every second takes him closer to Allied territory. Every second also takes him closer to being shot down by his own side. He scans the instrument panel, translating symbols into meaning. Fuel gauge shows 3/4 full. Airspeed indicator reads in kilometers. He does rough conversion in his head. Altimeter is in meters. He flies by. Instinct and math, trusting physics more than instruments. The jungle blurs below. No pursuit. The Japanese have no fighters fueled and ready. By the time they scramble, he will be gone. At 20 minutes, the jungle gives way to coastline. Virgil drops lower, 100 feet above the water. He knows Allied radar sweeps this area. Flying low keeps him under coverage, invisible until he wants to be seen. The ocean stretches empty and blue. No ships, no aircraft, just the drone of the BMW engine and the whistle of wind through the canopy. He checks his heading, southwest, toward home. Toward the base that will see an enemy fighter approaching and open fire without hesitation. He has no radio communication. The FW-190's radio is set to German frequencies, useless. He cannot call ahead. He cannot identify himself. Allied doctrine is absolute. Unidentified aircraft in a combat zone are hostile until proven otherwise. Shoot first, ask questions after. Virgil knows this. He helped write parts of the standing orders. and now he is violating every protocol, flying straight into the guns of men trained to kill anything that does not belong. He considers his options. He could bail out over water 10 miles from the base and hope someone sees his parachute. But the FW-190 is intact, an intelligence prize worth more than his life. If he can land it, if he can deliver it to Allied engineers, the tactical advantage is immense. He has seen enough of the aircraft to know it is advanced. The cockpit design, the control response, the engine performance, all of it superior to intelligence estimates. This aircraft could change Allied understanding of German engineering. It could save lives. But only if he can land it without being killed. An idea forms. It is insane, but everything about this situation is insane. He will approach the base slowly, visibly, with landing gear down. He will make himself vulnerable. He will signal surrender, not aggression. It violates every combat instinct, but it is the only option that does not end with him burning in wreckage or drowning in the sea. At 0645 hours, the Allied base appears on the horizon. Virgil takes a breath, lowers the landing gear, and begins his approach. Virgil approaches from the south at 200 feet, throttle back, landing gear locked down. The base materializes through morning haze, runways, tower, tents, and along the perimeter, anti-aircraft batteries. He can see the gunners tracking him, barrels swiveling to follow his approach. His heart hammers. Every instinct screams to dive, to evade, to survive. He forces himself to hold course, steady, predictable, non-threatening. At 8 miles out, he begins wagging the wings, left, right, the universal signal of a damaged, friendly aircraft. He repeats it. The gunners do not fire. They are confused. Enemy fighters do not approach with gear down. They do not signal distress. They attack or they flee. This one is doing neither. Virgil continues the approach, descending. To 100 feet. He is committed now. If they fire, he is dead. No time to evade, no altitude to maneuver. He is a target moving at 140 mph straight toward their guns. The tower radio would be screaming if he could hear it. Unidentified aircraft, hostile markings, landing configuration, hold fire or engage. Someone is making that decision right now. Virgil keeps the wings wagging. At 4 miles, he sees trucks racing toward the runway. Ground crews, security, everyone scrambling. At 2 miles, he lines up with the runway. Gear down, flaps down, throttle at idle. He is landing whether they want him to or not. The wheels touch asphalt. Virgil cuts the engine, letting the FW-190 roll under its own momentum. He keeps his hands visible on the canopy frame, away from controls. The aircraft slows, 80 mph, 60 mph, 40 mph. It coasts to a stop 600 feet down the runway. Silence. Then the sound of engines. Jeeps and trucks surround the aircraft. Marines pour out, rifles aimed. Virgil does not move. He raises, his hands slowly, clearly. A loudspeaker barks orders. Exit the aircraft. Hands visible. No sudden movements. Virgil slides the canopy back. The morning air hits his face, cool and impossibly clean. He stands in the cockpit, hands high, and shouts, "Virgil Kern, VMF 214, serial number 3447921. I am an American pilot. Do not shoot." The Marines do not lower their weapons. An officer approaches, sidearm drawn, eyes scanning the aircraft. He looks at Virgil, at the German markings, at the blood on Virgil's flight suit. "Step down slowly. Keep your hands where I can see them." Virgil climbs down, legs shaking. He stands on the wing, then drops to the asphalt. His knees nearly buckle. Marines grab him, pin his arms, search him for weapons. They find his sidearm, his knife, his dog tags. The officer examines the tags, then looks at Virgil. "Where the hell did you get this aircraft?" Virgil meets his eyes. "I stole it from a Japanese airstrip, 140 miles north. I was shot down 3 days ago. I needed a ride home." The officer stares. Then he keys his radio. "Get intelligence down here, now, and get a medical team. This man just landed an enemy fighter on our runway." The debriefing lasts 8 hours. Virgil sits in a windowless room drinking coffee, answering questions. Intelligence officers rotate in and out taking notes, cross-referencing his story with mission reports. They want every detail: the location of the Japanese airstrip, the number of personnel, the condition of the FW-190, how he started it, how he flew it, how he approached without being shot down. Virgil answers mechanically, his voice flat. He is exhausted. His shoulder throbs. The cut on his forehead has reopened. They stitch it without anesthetic. He does not flinch. Outside, engineers swarm the FW-190. They photograph every inch. They measure the engine, the wing profile, the control surfaces. The aircraft is intact, the first captured FW-190 in the Pacific Theater. Intelligence knew the Japanese were testing German designs, but no one had seen one up close. The BMW radial is advanced, fuel injection superior to American carburetors. The cockpit layout is efficient, controls ergonomic. The armor plating is thicker than expected. Every discovery is cataloged, analyzed, sent up the chain of command. Test pilots arrive within 24 hours. They fly the FW-190, pushing it through maneuvers, measuring performance. Turn rate, climb rate, dive speed, all of it documented. The data contradicts previous intelligence estimates. The aircraft is faster and more agile than Allied analysts believed. If the Japanese adopt German designs in numbers, the air war will shift. But now the Allies have countermeasures. They know the strengths. They know the weaknesses. They can train pilots accordingly. Virgil's debriefing concludes with a medical evaluation. Dislocated shoulder, partially healed. Concussion, mild. Dehydration, severe. Malnutrition, moderate. Psychological state, stable. The flight surgeon asks if he wants to stand down, take leave, process what happened. Virgil declines. He wants to return to flight status. The surgeon signs off. Within a week, Virgil is back in the cockpit of a Corsair, flying escort missions over Rabaul. His story spreads through the squadron, then the air group, then the entire Pacific Command. The farmer who stole an enemy fighter and flew it home. Some details are classified: the location of the airstrip, the specifics of the FW-190's performance, the intelligence value. But the core story becomes legend. Pilots talk about it in ready rooms. They repeat it in letters home. It becomes proof that audacity can substitute for firepower, that desperation can breed innovation. In October 1944, Virgil Kern is awarded the Navy Cross. The citation praises his courage, his resourcefulness, his contribution to Allied intelligence. The ceremony is brief. Virgil stands at attention while a general pins the medal to his chest. Photographers snap pictures. Virgil does not smile. Afterward, a reporter asks how it felt to fly an enemy aircraft. Virgil shrugs. "It felt like flying. The controls are different, but the physics are the same. You pull back, you go up. You push forward, you go down. The rest is just engineering." Virgil Kern survives the war. He flies 47 more missions after the FW-190 incident, escorts bombers over Okinawa, provides close air support during the Philippine campaign. He is promoted to captain. He trains new pilots, teaching them energy management and survival tactics. He does not talk about the theft unless directly asked, and even then, his answers are brief. When the war ends in August 1945, he musters out within a month. He returns to Nebraska, to the wheat farm outside Kearney, to the life he left 3 years earlier. He marries in 1947, a school teacher named Dorothy, who does not ask about the war. They have 3 children. Virgil farms wheat, raises cattle, fixes machinery for neighbors. He builds a workshop behind Wakaas, the barn filled with tools and engine parts. On weekends, he restores old tractors, taking them apart and rebuilding them with the same methodical precision he once applied to aircraft. He does not fly again. He sells his pilot's license in 1950. When asked why, he says, "Flying was work, not pleasure." He does not miss it. Veterans find him occasionally, men who served in VMF 214, or heard the story or read about it in a magazine article written without his permission. They want to shake his hand, to hear the details, to understand how he did it. Virgil is polite but distant. He offers coffee, answers questions in short sentences, and does not embellish. "I needed to get home. The aircraft was there. I used it." When pressed for wisdom or lessons, he shrugs. It was problem-solving. You look at what you have, you figure out what you need, and you make it work, same as fixing a thresher. The FW-190 he stole ends up in a military museum in Virginia. It is restored, repainted in its original Luftwaffe colors, displayed with a plaque that reads, "Focke-Wulf FW-190, captured August 20th, 1944 by Captain Virgil Kern, USMC, the only intact FW-190 recovered in the Pacific Theater." Virgil never visits the museum. He sees a photograph of the display in a magazine in 1968 and studies it for a long moment, then turns the page. He dies in 1995 at the age of 83. Heart failure, sudden and quiet. His funeral is attended by family, neighbors, and 12 veterans who travel from across the country. They do not speak of tactics or medals. They speak of the day a farmer from Nebraska did something doctrine said was impossible. They speak of the lesson he left behind, that war is not won by following rules, but by solving problems with whatever is at hand. That survival sometimes requires ignoring every instinct, every protocol, every rational argument, and doing the thing no one expects because it is the only thing that works. His grave is in a rural cemetery outside Kearney. The headstone lists his name, his dates, and a single line, Captain, United States Marine Corps. No mention of the theft, no mention of the Navy Cross, just a name and a rank. But in flight schools, instructors still tell the story, the farmer who stole an enemy fighter and flew it home. The man who proved that courage without logic is noise, and logic without courage is theory. Only together can they rewrite the impossible.